Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to what is actually the fourth in a series of our Fireside chats with partners at Foyle member firms. The series is entitled So You Want to Be a Partner, and the intention is to look at the different routes that people have taken to get to partnership, the different types of partnership as well, and also to perhaps unpack some of the pros and cons of being a partner. I think a lot of lawyers go into practice thinking that they would aspire to be a partner, but I think as part of Foyle's sort of information service role, it's important that we give people as much information as possible about what it actually means to be a partner. So I'm delighted to have David Mayer from Forbes with us this morning, and also my partner in crime, my good friend Mark Huxley, who will co-interrogate David very gently. And I hope that everybody finds this to be a useful and informative clip. So there are some already on the Foyle website, so please do have a look at those if you get a chance to do so. And anything that Mark and I don't cover in this discussion with David, he's quite happy to answer any questions from anybody. And we'll put his contact details up at the end of the clip. So let's kick off then. So David, how did you come to get into insurance law in the first place?
Well, I actually defected later on into insurance law after being on the claimant side. So, of course, when we talk about insurance law in terms of the way that I deal with it, there are some lawyers obviously who deal with insurance contracts and kind of the specifics of indemnities and the contractual elements of insurance and also insurance disputes as well. Whereas from my perspective, what we're talking about is defendant insurance law, so defending claims for damages generally. And I was on the claimant side, so I qualified on the claimant side and did that for a good I don't know. Probably 10 years or so, maybe slightly less. So that's where I built up my experience in it. And then, and that was mainly personal injury law, also some kind of actions against detaining authorities type work, some kind of human rights type stuff. And that, like I say, I did for around 10 years or so. And then just as time went on, the industry changed very much. There was a very lucrative time, I would say, in the old days when you could run those kind of cases and run them fairly profitably. And then with the advent of things like fixed costs and other kind of restrictions, then firms had to change how they run these cases and the kind of the business models around them, and there just was, I suppose, less work and less profitability in it as time went on. And then there was an opening available within the firm's insurance department, and that's what I went into, and that's how I changed over to it. So yeah, that's how I ended up going in, and I've now been in there for another bit less than 10 years, however that will be now. 7-8 years now.
So not to go too deep into it, but a little bit about the kind of work you're doing now and some of the kind of typical cases that you're dealing with.
Yeah, so most of my work is in sports and leisure. My insurers that I represent tend to be kind of Lloyd's commercial insurers based in London or in the regions, some of them. And so a lot of my work is based around sports and leisure. So it will be for instance, dealing with authorities like football authorities or rugby authorities, national governing bodies, right down through to kind of grassroots level clubs. So whoever has a sports or insurance policy, obviously with my insurer clients, it's any claims against those people. So theme parks, for instance, I'll represent. And I do a lot of football, a lot of rugby work, a lot of kind of fitness and martial arts type clubs as well, and also we're a big public sector local authority firm as well, so we do a lot of work in that area as well, and that isn't necessarily sports and leisure based, although some of it is. So we might, for example, represent leisure centres or the companies who run this. Some of these are kind of trusts or separate commercial organisations who run leisure facilities on behalf of local authorities and councils. So it's quite a broad spread of work, but I would say probably 80% of it or more is in the sports and leisure sector, which means that it covers a vast array of cases really. So there will be times. A couple of weeks ago, I was on a site visit at a trampoline park, say for example. So you can be doing that one day, investigating something that's happened in somewhere like that, and then the next day can be dealing with a football case where somebody's kind of broken their leg during the course of a football match there. And then you could be 2 weeks later in a gym kind of inspecting equipment that's broken and caused an injury. So a big variety of work. So although it's sports and leisure, it kind of can cover all facets of that really. It also, I think probably what people perhaps don't quite understand or don't realize as well, it obviously depends what comes into the insurer client. So we get some that are kind of very unusual kinds of cases. I've had Competition Act claims and things like that before, which are kind of far fewer between than the things like the bread and butter personal injury claims. And also another kind of facet to my practice is media work. So I do quite a lot of media and communications, things like defamation, data protection, misuse of private information, a certain amount of human rights comes into that as well. So yeah, really quite a big broad spread of work within all of that.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things that a lot of people who don't necessarily come into defendant insurance work initially, they only realise that the range of subjects that are covered in that particular area of practice. It sort of gradually dawns on people as they go into that area and then find out just how diverse it is in terms of the range of liabilities, the different areas that will come up in that work. Just thinking a bit about the So You Want to Be a Partner title of this series. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got to be a partner? Were you a partner when you were on the claimant side, or
no? No, I wasn't. No. So I mean, to be honest, I've been at Forbes my entire career. I qualified here as well. So after I finished uni, I went traveling for a year, came back, and I got a job in the cost department at Forbes. Just really because I'd done my degree, so I wanted to work in a kind of related field. So I joined the cost department back in 2002 now, and as I was working on those files, I was working on quite a lot of personal injury work at that time, and I got quite interested in it and decided to do my legal practice course then. So I did that part-time whilst working at the firm, and finished that, and then qualified afterwards after doing a training contract. Got a training contract with the firm, and then qualified into the firm, then into the claimant side. As I said, worked in that for quite a long time. I was, I think, promoted to associate when I was still on that side. And then I transferred over to the insurance side. And then a few years after that, I then applied for partnership. And different firms do things in different ways. Some have kind of senior associates. We now have senior associates, but we didn't at the time. And there's also usually different levels of partner as well. So I became a salaried partner and then a fixed share partner afterwards. So so mine has been really quite a linear and I suppose very traditional way of working through to partnership. It's just on merit within the firm. I've never moved anywhere else, and never had tried to achieve promotions that way like some people do. Just on purely on my working my way up through Forbes.
So before we get into, because there's obviously different models of legal service companies now, but and without making this a career-defining moment for you within Forbes, what's the good and the bad about being a partner generally? Not at Forbes, because clearly it's all good at Forbes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that people need to think about carefully, and I think it's less obvious nowadays that people necessarily want to go all the way through to partner. I think it was always used to be just the expectation that people would want to do that. But you know, speaking to people now, it's not necessarily something that everybody wants to do. But in terms of the good and the bad, I mean, the good, obviously, with every promotion, there's should be, and usually is, more money involved. So, you know, obviously the benefits tend to be better. So both in terms of pay, and other benefits as well, things you quite often get more holidays and those kind of things. So personal benefits to you tend to be quite good like that. If you become self-employed like I am, then there's certain benefits that come with self-employment in terms of paying national insurance and expenses you can offset against that as well. So sometimes, depending on how the actual model that's used and your own personal kind of setup, you can benefit that way as well. So that's the personal benefits. That also translates that billing tends to be higher with partners. You can charge more. It tends to be reflective of experience. So certainly with clients, there's a certain amount of I suppose, if you want to call it prestige, or certainly, like, you know, they like to know that there's people with certain experience who are dealing on certain cases, particularly higher value or more complicated work. So all of those things kind of go hand in hand together. You're also you're part of the management structure of the firm, so you're involved in shaping its future. You're involved in making decisions about how things develop. You're kind of, I suppose, forming strategies with your fellow partners about how you want the firm to look in 5, 10, 15 years, or whatever it may be, the types of work that you're doing. So it's, for me personally, I'm the kind of person who I've always liked to know why I'm doing something anyway. But being involved in shaping that why is directly beneficial for somebody like me. I'm not the kind of person who likes to just turn up and do my job and go home. I like to kind of become involved. I like to see how things can be changed or improved or what have you. So you get that direct ability to be able to do that, which is good. The flip side to that, you know, it's not all rosy being a partner. There are expectations with that. You will have there will be an expectation that you're involved in management duties, firstly. So that obviously involves hiring and firing staff, dealing with things like budgets and business plans and that kind of thing. And all of that takes time and a significant amount of energy. And if you enjoy that kind of thing, as I do, that's great. But at the same time, what you'll find is that although most firms will build that into your working day, the expectation to bring in billable hours and fees, etc., doesn't really change. And if anything, it increases. So it's not necessarily a case that some people would think where you become a partner and suddenly, you know, you're relieved of all your file handling duties, and you know, you're managing and shaping the future. You know, you're still expected to bring in money to justify your own position. So so that comes with quite a significant amount of pressure. And when you add in things like business development, which we're also responsible for, trying to bring in new clients and maintain relationships with existing ones, that means you're doing a lot of events, particularly in this area of law. You might be doing training for clients. Just last week, I was at a training event on Tuesday in Yorkshire and on Thursday online. And I would say that certainly each of those probably took 15, 20 hours to prepare for. And that's a huge amount of time to take over your working day in the time leading up to it. And you were already busy with casework. So there's a lot of pressure involved in that. And depending on what area you work in as well, there can be pressure to bring in new work or to kind of develop these new relationships, which isn't always a very easy thing to do, particularly in insurance. Obviously we're dealing with big insurer clients. They are our clients. Our clients aren't the individuals. They're the individual clubs or whatever they may be. These are the insurers. So bringing in new insurer clients is something that can take years and years and years to do, so but there is undeniably pressure involved in that. Partners meetings might be in the evening, attending things on weekends, dinners, events, awards, all that kind of different stuff. It does take up a significant amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm sure that's very, very helpful to our viewers. I was just thinking, as you were talking about those sort of pressures that come on, there are obviously a lot of those seem to be about personal business relationships, personal business, but relationships as between business and business. And I wondered, there's an awful lot of talk in our industry about AI. And how this is going to revolutionize our industry. And I hope we're not framing this as too leading a question, but how do you think AI is going to impact the role of partner? Let's be specific about it, going forward, because if a lot of the challenges that come with partnership are about human relationships, it doesn't sound to me as though AI is going to change that very much. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think AI it's already had an impact, and it's going to have a huge impact going forwards. I think about specific areas, though. I still think that people do business with people, and big companies, insurers, etc., can invest in their own AI packages and will have their own AI capabilities to be able to do to make efficiencies and to run cases much simpler before they end up getting to a law firm. So I would say that the role of AI within the area of work that I'm in really is about running these cases more efficiently, more cost effectively, and using the capabilities to kind of assist and augment the solicitor's work rather than replace it. So I think in terms of actually being a partner in a firm, where AI might come in is analysing trends, say, for example, or helping with budgets and business plans and forecasting and that kind of thing. But those management duties, I think, are going to be there's only so much I think that AI can help with those in the end, and the pressures and the stresses that I was talking about with business development, etc., aren't really going to be assisted in any great way by that. What may happen though is that AI may be able to, which it already has, make efficiencies in how we run cases and reduce the number of hours that we have to spend on certain elements, the more kind of like document heavy stuff, for example, which may mean that we actually do have more time to be able to be able to work on those management things. But at the same time, where you have those efficiencies, then of course there you have to look at how that translates into kind of fee income and how you charge in the future and what your charging structure is. So how AI runs cases then affects how you actually deal with forecasting and budgeting, etc. Anyway, but it's undeniably that the legal industry has already changed and is going to keep changing as things going forward. And I would say that people coming into it now are going to be in a very different role than anybody was in even 2 or 3 years ago.
Just building that point out and slightly going back to the inference I made last time I asked a question about the next generation of legal services firms. You've spoken much to the kind of traditional equity partner, limited liability partnership, the self-employment part of it. But do you see with the AI, the technology, the new way those firms are going to be run, whether that for that next generation coming in behind you, they can expect to see a different landscape to the way firms are run? Might they actually just get more and more limited companies sitting in out there, more corporate type style legal service businesses with different opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to affect more the way individuals work on cases as opposed to kind of the structure of the firm itself. I think you may well find, I think it would change things. There has been in certain fields this kind of model towards having maybe a partner or senior lawyer overseeing a group of more junior lawyers or paralegals or whatever it may be. And it could be that you could find that because artificial intelligence will help with those kind of document processes and the kind of the lengthy work, stuff that takes the time, the kind of pouring through and summarizing documents, for example, because it'll be able to help with that. You may find that you're able to change structure slightly, where paralegals, you may have a group of paralegals dealing with the AI capabilities to kind of produce a lot of the work that previously would have been done by solicitors either newly qualified or more experienced. So I certainly think it'll change how we structure departments and who works on what. In terms of how firms actually position themselves, whether they're a limited liability partnership or a limited company, whatever else it may be, I think those things are mainly structured around tax, number of employees, the kind of the benefit structure, I suppose, and how it works most efficiently for the firms. And of course, it depends, if a firm needs to be funded, if it needs private equity, then it has to be set up in a way that allows that to actually happen. So yeah, and the insurance industry is already set up with law firms where we've got big law firms generally dealing with the bulk of the work. There aren't a huge number of insurance law firms doing. It's not like the old high street model where you've got thousands and thousands of firms. You've only got a handful doing the bulk of them. So they're already in that kind of corporate structure, high volume type setup anyway, and I don't see any of them particularly changing that going forward.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. I suppose, given this sort of vision of a rapidly changing industry, it's a little bit difficult for you to answer this question, but give it a go. Knowing what you know now, sort of thing, what advice would you have given to the 25-year-old David Mayer?
Well, I mean, the advice I would have given myself at the time, based on what I know now, is very different than what I'd give to a new 25-year-old, lawyer coming in. Obviously, what I would say generally, and this probably just I'll say it anyway, because this applies to everybody. I certainly felt very much like I would say imposter syndrome is a big issue in law, because you go through your training contract, you might have 4 seats of 6 months. You can do it different ways now, but that's what I did it the traditional way: 6 month seats, 4 of them, and you never quite get properly to grips with the seat that you're in, but you get enough knowledge to know that you want to qualify into it, and then you qualify into it. But that's where it starts. That's where the learning starts. And at that point, I was thinking, oh, I'm a qualified lawyer now. I meant to know people, and I meant to know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And people are going to ask me, and yet I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. And yet, years later, you've got the confidence to say, I don't know the answer to your question, because I've been doing this for 20 years, and if I haven't known it so far, it's not something I've needed to know. So you've got the confidence of time behind you. At the time, I felt like I needed to know everything, and I needed to make it look like I knew everything, without really appreciating that wasn't the necessarily the case. So that's what I'd say generally to people that kind of at that age. In terms of people coming in now, what I would say is that everybody's expected to do their job. Everybody's expected to be good at their job. Everybody's expected to be able to bring in the amount of money that your firm says is what you should be bringing in, to do the hours, and to do the extra stuff that you may be asked to do, newsletters and articles and events and things like that. That's all just really generally bread and butter stuff. Whereas I think probably 20 years ago, doing those extra things, set you a bit apart from other people. The difference now is what skills you've got to assist your firm in the future. And I think firms now are looking for far more of those, not necessarily soft skills is the wrong word, but those kind of additional skills that are going to help shape the business for the future. Because it's not just partners that people are looking to; they need every level of the business to be doing that. So you are, as you come in as a lawyer now, you are going to be expected to work with AI and to be able to use it to its maximum capabilities. But ironically, those people are better placed to do it than the oldies like me and upwards. You know what I mean? They know more about technology. You've got an advantage there. So the new generation coming in can step in and say, look at this that I can do, look at these capabilities, I can change this system so that it works better in this particular way. And I think there's a lot more scope now for junior lawyers to come in and really completely change the face of how departments are run, because people have just done it in a traditional way without thinking too much about it. And I think that's the scope to change. So if I was looking back now, I'd be saying, okay, what skills can I bring in? How can I augment my legal training with knowledge about technology, AI? But it's not just that. It's it's other management information and data, and management skills. And increasingly, I would also say probably emotional and social awareness. It's okay being great at the technology side of things, but you need to be able to meet with clients. You need to be able to go to some kind of event, dinner, and be able to talk to clients. And in an increasingly digital age, there is less social interaction, I would say, and that's a skill that could easily die out. And that's not die out entirely, but if you are good at that aspect of it, then you can actually shine above others, even just on that alone.
Yeah. Okay. That's fantastic. That's really fascinating, David. Very, very exciting, I think, insight into the future of insurance law in particular, not just in the what's well known to insiders, the wide the wide range of technical work that you come across in that area of practice, but this new set of skills that is going to be required, I think adds to the fact that it is a highly rewarding and highly interesting and engaging career where you can bring the best of you as a person, as well as the best of you as as an intellectual person. So I think that's great. I think that's been really, really interesting. And thank you very much for your time, David, and also to you, of course, Mark. This clip is, as I mentioned at the beginning, the fourth in a series of So You Want to Be a Partner podcasts. I hope they're useful to you. Please do contact myself or David if you have any queries about that. If you're not yet registered for your own personal Foil account, please do so. Go onto the website, click register, fill out the form, dead easy. And please do follow us on LinkedIn. And there'll be a QR code at the end to show you where to find us. Okay, thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Lawrence.